Here we go. What's up, y'all?
All right, okay, we're already live. Cool, let's fucking go. Brian, welcome.
Brian's
Aloha.
in the chat. Let's go. Adidas Kid, Showtime.
This is Luxury Edition, Last Week in Marketing, with Brandman, Schwinnebago, sports marketing brother, Jordan.
Indeed.
And your boy, OJ.
And OJ, who generally has the luxury juice, tapped into the luxury markets, says the names correctly. When we need someone. Yeah, Jacquemus. Those of us elsewhere might say Jacquemus or something.
Happy Friday midday. If you're on the East Coast or in Europe and you've already given up on having a productive day, welcome, brothers.
Yes.
Indeed. We're here to embrace that. You can feel productive. Be like, bosses, I'm listening to corporate overlords. I'm listening to the brand fathers, gaining some knowledge.
So that we can stay tapped in.
Toss it in the Slack.
Indeed. For those of you, we've got, of course, Jaguar. We're going to be talking Jaguar today. We've got London in the house. Spiky.
It's freezing in New York too.
It seems.
I don't know if I sent the chat yesterday. I was paddleboarding on my calls in the chat yesterday. So just a reminder that's where we're at.
Yeah, I saw you at 2 p.m. yesterday, just setting up that paddleboard. You're like, I got to run out of the studio right now.
Damn, 6 p.m. in Nigeria.
Wow.
Let's go.
Nigeria. Let's go. Your boy, I was playing golf barefoot yesterday in Orange County. So, Oren, I see why you live there. Every time I get off the plane, I go, oh, this is why Californians are willing to pay so much and 50% tax, whatever. It's worth it.
Hey, well, luckily we can avoid some of that tax with the luxury vehicles,
Indeed, yes. That's why. That's what G-Wagons are for. Cyber trucks.
Yeah.
Amazing.
But we want to give people a rundown of the agenda. What do we have today?
So we got, the biggest news, probably bigger than the Barbie campaign, the Jaguar rebrand. What do we think in terms of media impressions this has gotten between between all of their content, the critiques, the memes? I don't know if you saw today. The rumors today are it's the Apple car announcement because of some of the crossover of the imagery inside that. And how they lost the Waymo contract. So I highly doubt this, but I thought that was an interesting wrinkle. It would be fascinating. There are some people who are coming out with their conspiracy theories of what's been going on with Jaguar. And they're like, no, they're just trolling us. And there's going to be a much bigger reveal. I don't know. I don't know if you guys are
there may still be a much bigger reveal, but they are not trolling. I will guarantee that. This was a serious effort and endeavor.
Yeah.
I went back to some videos from the head of brand or like creative director at Jaguar. And some people are calling out like, hey, he's basically been saying exactly what they're going to do for like the past 3 or 4 years. Like, he's had this like copy nothing kind of tagline. And he's like, hey, we want to be like bold and inclusive and diverse and all of this stuff. So that kind of makes me believe, like, listen, if it's a troll, like they've been gearing up the troll for the past 4 years.
There's no troll there. There may still be an exciting vehicle on the other side. I think we'll dive into that because we're also going to talk about Volvo. We're also going to talk about Porsche. We can throw some other brands in there if you guys want. We can talk Hyundai.
Absolutely.
We can talk Kia. You tell me.
We could talk how BMW changed their logo.
We can talk about how BMW, despite making absolutely ugly as hell SUVs, still has ridiculous market penetration.
Crazy.
Anyway. We should also talk about Mercedes. It was interesting when I did my worst marketing of 24.
Like, don't talk about my X5 that way.
Hold on. Yeah, there's that. Wait, are you talking about like
actually ugly as hell, brother?
X5 is.
Have you looked at that grill? Look at this
M package. Oh my! This is coming from a man driving a Cybertruck.
Yeah, we're driving a G-Wagon. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But I will say,
and G-Wagon.
Look at the feeds. Well, I guess we can just dive right into car. You look at the BMW feed on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
It's just cars. It's just like the 2017 travel edition, right? It's like 90% of it is a car. 10% like might have a person. You go to the Mercedes Instagram. It's like it's the Brabus event, Montclair collabs and Lewis Hamilton and like just like people. And it's and storytelling. And I thought that was a very telling of where. Now, it hasn't hurt BMW whatsoever. Obviously, people are still buying their cars even if they're ugly. but it is it was an interesting scenario.
I won't stand for this BMW slander. I mean,
You driving a BMW, brother?
No. But BMW, I am available. BMW,
you look at it, the cars look great.
I am
I'm saying
available.
The crossover SUVs are like the grille design is mid. That car looks good.
That's fair. I mean, I love the M package. I've always liked. I kind of like all car, to be honest. Like I like American. I especially like German cars. It was on my 2024 goals. It's now rolling over to my 2025 goals. But we need a.
Nolan said Audi
BMW
has a new logo for the Asia market. That's
which is just Audi, which is just AUDI written out in text.
Because because the circles are too representative of like Chinese coins or some shit. But but exactly. But it's like the full Montclair, the full streetwear, plus like the legacy Mercedes. Like they're going in. They're presenting themselves as a luxury brand. Their feed is more Burberry than it is like car performance. Like it's art. I'm a fan.
I love this. Yeah.
They got Nego on feed, you know what I'm saying? Like, and they also just don't give a shit that people might not like it, right? So I'm a fan.
Well, they're all okay. All of this is in the sake of trying to get younger, it would seem. And that's, I think, the common theme.
But see, this is a common misconception. No one puts Nego on their feed if you want to get younger. Right?
Well,
that's the same. Like
for luxury market, who's typically 55 to 65. Who's 45.
To be fair, but I do feel like it's the Kith story again and again, where like Kith is going for 40 to 50-year-old dudes.
Yes.
Like, and this is the exact same thing happening here. This is just who appeals to those people from a luxury demographic is F1 racers and Nego and Pusha T and shit. What we've seen in this Louis Vuitton, dark shit that we're out here.
Well, ALD is doing the same thing. Porsche, like ALD has let's call it 30 to 50, 30 to 45. And so they're all just trying to get like a few years younger. I mean, Jaguar, a lot of the takes are Jaguars trying to get, to Gen Z, which may not be.
We should hop into the Porsche collab. My boy just texted me as we were starting the stream. He was like, I gave into the hype. I bought the Porsche ALD, and he's got a super nice Porsche. So he's the demo. But I do love that, like, he's not like a streetwear buyer. He's like a Karl Lagerfeld, Montclair, like a higher, more trad Euro luxury buyer. But it's funny, like every guy with a Porsche who's like kind of in the know is like looking at this drop, which I think is fascinating.
Oh, it's incredible. Do we know what the price point is on that leather jacket?
Do we know what the price point is on this car, and how many of these cars are they selling?
I don't think they're selling in the car at all. So they have
just a one-of-one.
Yeah, they do this and then they sit it outside their retail shop, or they'll do it a pop-up. It's basically like a singer.
Yeah, they have one every year at Art Basel for a year. They have like a new one.
Yeah, and it's just like
5 years from now.
It's genius. They put it outside their coffee shop. People will take pictures.
But this ad, okay, hold on. We gotta let this ad look gorgeously shot, whatever. But bro, he pulls up to the sheep farmer. Yeah, I mean, they have like a stare down.
Yeah.
And like the sheep part, like I get it. This shit's like hilarious, but it's so fucking ridiculous. My man said, "All right, thank God the sheep part, because we could have had an issue here if the sheep didn't clear."
Yeah. I love it. I mean, it's clever. I mean, it's just beautifully shot. I mean, it's hard for me not to like a beautiful Porsche in the middle of the Scottish Highlands.
Exactly. And the clothes are gorgeous. It's in the right place. I do find like that like moment of like the sheep crossing. I'm like, all right, brothers. Yeah. But like this is a gorgeous drop. This is great. This is great marketing. Yeah. And look at this time. We've seen this now. We've seen Rude McLaren. We've seen Rude Lamborghini. ALD Porsche, I think, is a great combination here. I saw like Puma has a Porsche license that they've done very little with.
Really?
Compared to this. Yeah, they have like an ongoing Porsche license.
Yeah, and I guess they do Team Ferrari as well. Puma Porsche. Well, this one's beautiful. But you know what? We're bearing the lead here. We do need to just go. We need to watch Jaguar. Yeah? Everybody wants to talk Jaguar. You want me to is
there anyone in the chat who hasn't seen
20-second video?
All right.
Yeah. Let me fire this up here real quick. I don't know if everybody here.
20 more seconds of my life.
Yeah, I know. Here we go. Let me play this. Y'all let me know if you hear the audio.
I can't believe we're still talking about this.
I know. Let me put it on 1.25. All right, and that 30-second video there has sent the internet into an absolute firestorm.
The video heard around the world.
The video, it's we're in that like era though where we're doing it right now, but like the takes are even more than the original video.
Oh, for sure. Especially with the people on LinkedIn defending it, because you have to have like the ad, like the woke ad industrial complex being like, well, at least they're trying something different. Performance be damned, you know?
And then you have all the conservatives. Like, have you guys seen, we'll talk about Jaguar or Volvo in a second. The first thing that pops up for Volvo when you search it is like, it's a pro-life ad, you know? So we have like the woke Jaguar people who love it, the conservatives who like love Volvo, and somehow we've gotten this culture war in the two.
But here's the thing. So one of the things I love to bring up about the culture war, because this happens in workshops I talk to all the time. Because look, the culture war is a real thing. But there's one of those things where I'm like, hey, conservatives spend their money with conservative leaning brands, and they do it whether they would be or not. But there's like this whole idea that like, hey, they're gonna look at a Ford potentially above a BMW is in the conversation. The woke ideology does not look to those brands when making big purchase decisions. They look to it and how they show online, but is not saying, okay, because of that, I am like, they're just as likely to be in any other thing as they are to go say, hey, the purchase habits don't align. Like there's not like some big wallet change. Like they don't buy sustainable brands as much as they preach about sustainability. Like they are like, there's no, like the eco-friendly is like an afterthought at best. And they're like not going to go purchase a Jaguar because it meets their cultural inclination. And I think that's a interesting thing to say. But on the whole, overall theme of this campaign is, if the car is good, a lot of this doesn't matter. This can be the best attention getting campaign in the world. This is the Apple car, as some are like thinking this, are prospecting that it could be, or whatever. It doesn't matter. But if it's a mid car, then this will all just go away.
Ashwin, your response?
I was trying to get stats on this, but I had seen differently reported numbers. There were some reports that Jaguar, like the number of units they sold in 2023 was sub 10,000 in the United States. So
I would believe that.
A car that is virtually non-moving in this country at all. And so
but the East takes, people were saying, oh, they're positioning towards the East. Have y'all been to the East? Can you think about how that plays in China, like, or in Japan? They're like, what are y'all doing? That is not the marketing there. That's the funniest retort I've seen. They're like, they're positioning towards China. I'm like, are they, brother?
This is the trouble. And this is like, part of my commentary was, when some people say, hey, they're like going for a younger demographic, they're trying to like hit Gen Z, and they're trying to like be bold and colorful and like make a big statement and all of that. And I'm like, what are we talking about when we talk about an entire generation as a monolith? And like, okay, this entire generation is going to like find resonance in this one hyper specific way that this brand is presenting itself. And I think the same way, I got a bunch of DMs on this where people are like, hey, they're actually like, they don't care about the US market. They care much more about the Asian market. I have never been to China. I have no idea how I have no idea how EV is playing in that. So I have no commentary on it. But like the people who are saying it are also predominantly based here in the US, which is like,
I was saying, like, you know what ads look like in China? You know what they have? They have Chinese people in luxury environments and really nice glamorous shots of cars. You know what they don't have is a bunch of like, you know what China does, like really doesn't like is a bunch of ambiguously gendered race that is not that shit does not fly in the Eastern Bloc.
It's not flying. That is not flying in communist China right now. Fair point. So look, Ashwin, I did get the numbers here. If we look, I don't know if y'all can see this. They sold 31,000 units in 2019. They sold 9,600 in 2022. It's not great. And of course,
because the last time any of us aspirationally wanted a Jag, it had the thing in the front.
I was
the actual Jaguar in the front. I wanted one.
Like 10 years old.
2010, yeah.
let's see here. Sorry, what is this? Oh, May. So what is total?
But when the bar is that low, if their bar for success for this is we need to sell 11,000 cars next year.
Yeah, I think Noah has this important idea in here. He says, do you think a lot of these brand campaigns were created and planned prior to the election results? Assume a lot of these were green lit
100%
long before. And I think for looking at an entire rebrand where they changed the visual identity, the verbal identity, like everything that's going to happen with these cars. I mean, this has been years in the making.
Yeah. Well, and Lamborghini's rebrand that they like announced is like rolling out over the period of like 5 years. This was definitely ahead, but this ad creative could be a matter of months. This ad creative has to be. There's no way that someone like the word brat wasn't on the slide, and that there wasn't like this wasn't like a Kamala cultural zeitgeist related. Like that's just how these conversations happen. This is how these decks look.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you could show, if I imagine like the strategy deck, you could show those numbers like. It's declining. The last time Jaguar was aspirational was whatever in the US. Like we've got to, what is this?
No, just click. Well, yeah, just keep
okay. But but we're just going to take a swing. What can we lose? And, I don't know.
Yeah, true. They have nothing to lose. They have nothing to lose. Where this is at. They have gained attention. They have a great platform for if they do present something. Even people can forget how like that whack ad can just be a blip on the radar if they announce a car that people are excited about and want, and it would just it becomes a vehicle. And that's really what this company is. It was a product-driven market. Either way, like here's the funniest thing about car ads in general. I think is worth talking about is that they are purely. It's one of the 47 touch points for a purchase that big that influences the back of a consumer's mind and the subconscious to make them buy. Very few people are being like, I bought because of that Hyundai ad, right? They are agonizing and researching over one of the biggest purchase decisions that you make. So it is purely a numbers and awareness and consideration game. Because even on features, you're not calling out shit. No one's like, oh, I bought it because of this specific feature. It is a cultural thing. And so it is an interesting to think about from that perspective, which leads us to the Volvo ad. You want to play the Volvo ad?
Oh, yeah. Features. That's a great point in features. All right. I think we should just wrap up since so many people are so interested in Jaguar. Like, do you think it's purposefully, it absolutely is purposely designed to get everybody to talk. There's no way you do this without, and they had to know that people are going to feel extremely strong in one way or another. Yes. This wasn't like, oh, we're going to do this and people are going to love it.
No, I think it was like, we're going to do this and it's just going to be like a normal campaign. People are like going to be like, all right, this is whatever. This is just the new Jaguar direction. I did not think they expected to have this level of response.
Do you see this wrapped image here of them testing it? That almost looks like a Rolls or a 300C or something. Like
also when you look at the debut images of the car, even the stuff that they've been trickling out, that all looks interesting at least. Like there's the other one too where you have like the little the thing like popping out. It's on their Twitter.
Yeah, okay, I haven't seen it, but super sick. Hold up. Jaguar teaser. Oh, this or no?
Yeah, see the one down there in the middle.
Oh,
nope,
right here. Yep.
Nope.
Oh yeah, the door handle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the door handle.
That was it. That was the one you just said.
Yeah, cool. Super cool.
So again, good design heals a lot of wounds when it comes to the car market. But so my prediction here is we're going to see this done intentionally now in the future. Because what I saw from this and what like will immediately be in meetings from now on is being like, hey, if we launch something like this as a troll, especially with any legacy brand that's willing to go down that and then go, haha, like 3 days later, it would break the fucking internet. And so I think that we're going to definitely see people doing that here coming up very shortly. And then we're going to get very tired of that very quick.
Yeah, that's a great take, I think. People are going to try this, you're going to have to throw convention out the window to try to just get people talking, because on December 4th, we are all going to be paying attention to what the car is that rolls out.
Agreed.
Okay.
Volvo.
All right. Volvo, this would be the anti
pro-life ad.
I love that. Yeah.
It's so good.
It's political. This is 3 minutes long. So
You
Let it
want
ride.
to play it on 6x speed? I'm just joking.
Okay. It is. I'll throw it on here, and you want to do sound or no sound?
Yeah, we can just talk over it. We can just have it live in there.
Hey.
Ashwin, you want to give a quick recap of what happened in this ad and why it meant so much to you as a pro-life?
That's right. Let's watch 15 seconds of it, and then you'll kind of get the sense of it.
Let me see what happens when it goes full stream.
I'm crying already for America.
Oh, it is beautiful. All right, so she's pregnant.
Hey, love.
Hey, Mom.
How are you guys? How you doing?
Yeah.
The mom thing is interesting.
We're good.
You know.
Something wrong?
No. But we've actually got something to tell you.
You bought a Volvo.
Kate's pregnant.
Oh, I'm joking.
You're gonna be a grandma.
Oh my God.
I'm scared, Mom.
Why are you scared?
Oh,
It's okay to cry
I
a
mean,
lot, Jordan.
what's that?
It's okay to cry.
It might be the first time, but Ashwin dropped it in his broadcast channel, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna check this out. I'm like, why am I shedding tears on a Wednesday morning in a broadcast channel?
I have a daughter.
There is
you want me to fast forward a bit here?
Yeah, so we'll kind of like talk through this a little bit. So this, couple has a kid. He is talking to his mom, and he's explaining to his mom like the things that he is concerned about and the things that he's excited about in terms of raising his daughter. And then you see these like flash forward visions of like her growing up and like the joys as well as sorrows of like raising a kid, and like when they go through this loving phase, this rebellious phase, then they go off to college and like out in the real world and stuff. And it's all like very cinematically shot. There's this really great narrative told here. The soundtrack in the background, like it just feels like a segment from a movie. And the place that it ends, like, Jordan, if you just want to scroll up a little bit to that, like right before, you can probably see like where it's the most replayed segment there.
Trying.
Yeah. Fade into black.
Here it is. So she's bang.
So
the Volvo. Yeah.
So she's like, then it's kind of like imagined her as like an adult walking across the street, almost gets hit by this car, but then, it stops, and it just like demonstrates Volvo is, has like insane braking capabilities. But then it like ends with this line that's really interesting, is like, sometimes the most important moments that happen so the most important moments are the ones that never happen. And that is like that is like such a like good like bow tie on this narrative of like, it's like shown through this like negative lens or like negative framing of like the power of this thing in terms of like what didn't happen or what didn't transpire. And so it's like, very like emotionally compelling from that standpoint.
Yeah. But it's funny, but this would have gotten like 50,000 views if it wasn't for the Jaguar ad, people being like, quick, give us an example of good car marketing, which is like an unintentional win.
Yeah, I think I don't know. This to me shows the power of like investment and like beautiful storytelling, kind of narrative. This dude, I don't actually know who this director is, but it sounds like there's a film director who is doing like traditional films historically. And
I saw somewhere like the director from Oppenheimer, the cinematographer from like Oppenheimer and Interstellar.
Okay. Christopher Nolan would be that director, but yeah, the cinematographer is probably his guy. That's a good point. But so to me, like, brand is a lot about association. So first of all, Volvo knows who they are. They've been about safety for about 30 years. Like that's the corner of the market that they've taken. They've said, hey, we're the safest car. And where I thought this was going, and I think the tension in the beginning of this is like, you already know that from a Volvo standpoint. I kept going like, who's that woman who got in the car? Because I was thinking like, oh, you're going to protect now you're going to protect the woman who is pregnant and your kid, like, you'll be in the car and the kid will be saved, which is like, I don't know, marketing 201. If 101 at the very basis is, hey, our cars have great features and benefits, and we want to tell you, like, faster braking capability, better airbags, all these technical details that so many people harp on. Then the second is like, what's the benefit you'll actually get from those technical details? And this, if you want to get super nerdy, when we feel something, your memory and your brain attaches to that other thing. And so when you feel something deeply through storytelling, you start to associate, and brand is a lot about association. So like we associate now this deeply emotional experience now to a car company, and that helps drive your purchase decision. And so anyway, I think it's beautiful. It's incredible. This definitely speaks to me and what I love, but
there's
yeah, go ahead, Ashman.
do you remember, I don't know if you remember, there were these Google commercials from 2013, 2014, like Google Chrome commercials, right? Like how do you take like something like that has no personality, like very boring, very vanilla, that is just a web browser, and make that compelling to people. And I remember they like wove this tale. It was like very much in line of this like Volvo, where this like new dad like created a Gmail account for his daughter when she was born, and like every year would like send her an email of like a recap of their year leading up to like her 18th birthday. And it was like Google was obviously like, Google wasn't the hero of the story, but it was like clear how they were in there, and they do it with this like emotional soundtrack. I mean, 10 years later, I still remember that commercial. And so there is this like, there's this really important point of like, hey, emotional resonance is certainly one angle through which like you can just drive that memory. And I think with Volvo, has it, at least as far as I understand Volvo, they just like, they're the parents' car, when like people have like, there's this funny thing in New York, there's this lady called a car seat lady, and she like installs your car seats, and talk about niches. And on her street,
talk about preying on a whole economy of women who don't think their husbands are capable of doing anything.
Capable of doing it, yeah, exactly.
Only New York.
But you walk past that thing, and there's just like 30 Volvos lined up, right? And it's like, okay, they've solidified in people's mind that like, hey, we're the safest car. I think they like drive that home in this. In this
to the point Noah has on this chat. Like, this is a 3-minute and 45-second ad. It's not being played on TV. I just checked. It's not on the landing page. It's like they got very lucky. This is a beautiful ad, super compelling, speaks a good language. They got super lucky. It got brought into the Jaguar cultural conversation. It probably wouldn't have if not. But they're doing a lot for a little. And also they're doing a lot for a car that is one of the worst looking Volvos. I don't know what the inclination is for all these electric cars to have like weird rims, but like they're continuing to like just make it look like the other cars, but electric. Like,
yes.
Every electric car doesn't have to be a statement.
Yeah. I think
I won't stand for Volvo slander either.
Jordan has none of these cars, but he won't stand for the slander.
Like, go to the EX90 and tell me that that's a good looking. Like their other SUVs look fine. I have plenty of friends with the XC70 and whatnot. It's a very popular vehicle in our area for the same exact reasons. This is not. It's not a win.
Yeah, I mean, car design in general like has had this like weird idea of the future, like what people have imagined the future to be, just like with like the LEDification of everything, just like very small like openings for lights. And
when they do that, like at least so Hyundai does this, and at least it's interesting, like look, it's just look at the wheels. What are we doing?
Yeah, it's fair.
Thank you.
You can ruin an entire car with wheels. I do not understand, for the life of me, the thing that puzzles me most is people who will pay for like a BMW or a Mercedes and then skimp and get the small like alloy wheels. And you're like, dude, you went all the way to this luxury vehicle, and then you got 16-inch alloy wheel. What are you doing?
Just get a model that's 2 years older and put the real rims on it. Yeah.
Put the 20s.
Put on Forgiatos and let's run this shit, brother.
Let's get the Forgiatos. Let's go. I'm really.
We gotta go. I don't know if it's near you or not, but we gotta do the Texas Forgiato trip, just for the culture, bro.
You got to come down. Yeah. What's the wagon? Sorry.
Hold on. Let's talk about this one comment here, which is how does Oren was kind of saying like, listen, this was brought into the conversation by like because it happened this week, and if it didn't happen this week, like, okay, is anyone really like talking about it? Like, does it just fall by the wayside? So they got lucky with timing. And I think this is an important question that I've kind of asked in the past, and we've had conversations about. But like, a company makes this 3.5-minute ad that they cannot really run on TV, and if you cut down the narrative, I don't know how you do a 30-second cut down of that is compelling, because you almost need that time to like bring people along for that story. So it's like super emotionally resonant at the end. So you can't broadcast it on TV. Few people watch it on YouTube before hitting skip, but it's like this powerful ad. Like, where does that go and live?
Yo, and they don't promote it. Here's the biggest thing is like, if this was on the EX90 landing page on Volvo, which it is not, I get it. Cool. You are basically reinforcing your decision. You're choosing to cinematically reinforce your decision with a video in their purchase process. If I'm looking through Mild and shit right now, is it in the Volvo email campaign ecosystem? No. It's like,
wait, but hold on, you guys, do you realize this came out like weeks ago?
Yeah, I would say it brought in the conversation just because of recency. But I'm even looking at like, it's not on their website. It's not in their email campaigns. And so it's like, they're not even choosing to broadcast the ads that they create. And that's the biggest thing around this is if you do have an infrastructure. So Volvo is getting massive website traffic every single day. I'm sure they have a massive email list. But these companies who do choose to make these things aren't even using their own infrastructure to get it out.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because you could, this could exist in a vacuum. If they were said, our target demographic for this is purely existing Volvo owners to reinforce their decision and make them consider our new electric line. And we are going to make sure every existing Volvo owner whose contact info we have in the next year sees this video, that is probably worth the cost. But that is the rollouts for these pieces just continually get less and less involved as the culture gets more and more intricate.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I mean, I think this is a good conversation for how social works. And Oren, you remind me about this on YouTube. Like, if the content is good and it gets resurfaced, and this is a great example of like something happened in the cultural zeitgeist that brought this up, that then caused it to go trending again. And Zach, our buddy Zach, brought this up on his story the other day. He was talking about how it feels like sometimes your content is dead, and then it will get this resurgence. I had a video I did on like NIL Collective 6 months ago that did okay. And it's like just taken off in the last like month. And I think this is an interesting thing now for brands. The investment can be there. And if you have the right elements externally that come together culturally, it can get a resurgence if you have it out there.
And this is why one of the things I talk about a lot in these brand workshops is like the brand as guide persona, or like brand as guide, like energy for what you do with your brand, where you say, hey, if you do want to provide information out there, whether that's like even one of the examples I use a lot now is like Dore did a video. Dore is like a streetwear skit brand, but they did a video and it was like all the best of like a certain type of pastry in Portugal, which is a very discovery focused ad, right? Like they're beginning to like, how do you look at yourself as we have stores in these areas? How do we become guides in this area? The beauty of guide content is that even if it doesn't do good at the time, it can succeed significantly over time. And the way I think a lot of brands should look at it, and why things like tutorial content on YouTube will kind of be evergreen. But just overall, brands need more strategy for how do they repurpose content across the existing infrastructure that they have. Because the fact that this isn't an email, and the fact that this isn't on a lander, is kind of the real travesty of this, right? Where these campaigns, like you may get lucky and get pulled into the zeitgeist, but I think people need to set themselves up for success, both in the content they create and how they use their existing infrastructure to push it out.
Yeah, you're right. So fascinating. I wanted to look at the Volvo topic, but Volvo ad up 2,400%. Jaguar 350. Fascinating.
Look, just getting lucky, right? But also by getting lucky by taking a strong position, right? This may not have happened or not, but it without the good creative in the first place, it wouldn't have happened. And when you're a brand the size of Volvo, you could put some things out there, whether they work or not, and then if it gets picked up in the conversation, it's an extra win.
Yeah, totally. It's so good. More of this. Speaking of great storytelling, what was that brand again? That was about the pastry in Portugal, Oren?
Oh, Dore Schutze.
Dore Schutze.
DERSCHUTZE. They're leading the way. It's actually funny. I just brought this up with a way more serious brand who was like a Fortune 500 serious brand. Who then they were like, what are people going to all be doing on social? And I'm like, look, in streetwear right now, all these brands are doing this. They get like two creators, like a male, female creator, and they just run skits basically, like in the clothes, and it just dominates. There's a lot of people doing that, but like hasn't crossed over into CPG or any of these other, or like, and now it's going to absolutely murder and cross over hard. And Dore Schutze is. What I like about them is they're doing it by store. Like Dore Schutze London has one. They have like their Portugal store. Like Lisbon has an account, and they're kind of running that by vertical. It's very smart. Recurring characters. All right, what was the next one on the list?
I actually just wanted to address this Eric comment real quick, and I'm using this interesting tool. So he basically is like, a bad logo can undermine its appeal. Nothing guarantees, like tendency to, these rebrands that just generate buzz, but that doesn't equal good marketing. I would say, and if Diddy, for example, that's a, very negative example, but if he dropped an album, it wouldn't guarantee impact or relevance. I'll tell you this, it is very relevant. And so like if Diddy dropped an album tomorrow, this is a terrible example, but like it would have 1 billion streams or something because people would pay attention. And I think the thing for Jaguar that they would be betting on is that if the car and the product can deliver, to your point, OJ, people will forget about this stupid ad if it's a really sick car and people actually like it and it's functional and it delivers on its promise. And so they've got now people's attention. Whereas otherwise, if they just dropped a car on the 4th, maybe it would have good reception, but it would take a year or two of goodwill of people actually continually saying this thing is great and word of mouth to travel.
Yeah, I think it's the second, but we should go live. It's going to be a cultural moment when that unveils. We should be live. I think it's on the 2nd, and I'm traveling like the afternoon, but if it's in the morning, we should be live for it just out of pure curiosity.
Put a calendar invite on that.
We should be live from Art Basel.
It's setting it up for it. It'll be one of the most shared car designs. So here's what it looks crazy. So if it's going to be, it's either going to be crazy good or crazy bad, people are going to share it. If they were debuting it and it looks like a normal ass, like an F-type, then it would just be like the story would just go away.
Agreed. All right. We got to talk Sotheby's storytelling. Ashwin, you want to tee this up?
Yeah, so I came across this. I sent this to you a couple of days ago. And, we often talk about how, like, especially large and legacy brands, as they struggle to make content, make like compelling content for social. I thought Sotheby's was an interesting example. And what caught my attention here is like, number one, it says Sotheby's. Number two, it's a reply video. So like already there, that's just like putting them, in like the top 5 percentile of brands that like understand, hey, social is this conversation. And you have so many people in the comments who are asking to see things from your brand or from the people behind the brand. And you don't have to be this like small 3-person shop to be able to create content like this. So in Sotheby's, one of the videos prior to this was showing off one of the auctioneers, and she was like auctioning away like a $2 million painting. And one of the top comments on that was basically like, hey, I need to know everything about this person. Who is she? She seems like an icon, whatever. And then Sotheby's like puts this, so that was the video, top comment on that previous video. I need to know, I think it was the other one. You went down one. So I need to know everything about this auctioneer. And they're like, all right, let's just do a reply video on this. And so if we pop open that reply video,
hold on, let me see real quick what she's so.
And it remains in the same collection. And now, lot 113. The last time the Danner Memorial window was on the auction block was 24 years ago in the year.
I bid on that one then.
$200,000.
Yeah, I was looking at some pieces about this, Ashwin, and people are saying she is actually the driving force behind the viral TikTok, $10 million because people are so interested in her.
Yeah.
This is also actually like extremely inherently a great format for fucking.
Yes, it is.
At $10,800,000.
It's building intrigue.
Still with Cassandra.
It's rich people.
Shall I sell?
It's a walk negotiation video, but playing out super slow.
Yeah, it is. 7 minutes. By the way,
so good.
Like over 90
$10,800,000
content. This is actually like a sweet spot for TikTok right now.
So Sotheby's has always been, which I think by nature of being a luxury brand that is so in tuned with artistry and money and the things that are happening currently, like they were on NFTs so fast, right? And they were participating in viral campaigns for that in that cycle, like so hard that I think, they are culturally built to be a more responsive brand than most of these other ones are.
All right, you want to let me put some sound on for her story. So they have her auctioning. She looks very compelling and interesting. People are like, she had 3,900 supporting comments about, I need to know everything about her. And then they just produced this like beautiful film. I don't know what the turnaround time here was, but here we go.
The viral sensation that is the viral.
Here it is.
When I took my
That's the
auctioneer
next one.
audition, there was actually, my name is Phyllis Cow. I am Vice President Client Strategy and an auctioneer here at Sotheby's, New York. I didn't fall from the sky and land in an evening sale. I've been doing this for a little bit. I've taken a few sales over the years. I started out at a very small regional house, and I actually didn't know that I would stay in the business for so long. I was raised in Berkeley, California. My family is from Taipei, Taiwan, so both are home to me. I came to New York for school. I left, and I came back. My first auction, it was in Northern California, in the Bay Area. I was very young, and I had very little training. I watched and clerked an auctioneer for perhaps 6 months, a year. And the managers of the company literally just asked me, do you want to go up and try it? And I did.
Incredible.
So a couple of things that I think are important call outs here. So one, just like tactically from how they package this. So the fact that they did that as a reply video is, I think, extremely important here, because you have to remember the majority of people kind of seeing content, especially on TikTok and especially from short form video content, they're new to that brand or account, right? So they're just seeing you in the feed. So if you open up that video and it's, you know, she's saying, hey, I'm Vivian, so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. I'm the auctioneer of, it's like 8 seconds before you even learn who she is and like why she has this relevancy to Sotheby's. But you also see this like kind of cinematically shot thing. And then this like reply video comment the actual comment itself is what grabs your interest. Like that's the hook for the video. And then you realize, oh, okay, this like large brand, this large auction house that I'm familiar with is like responding here to this and like telling the story of her. So I think the packaging of it is important, which a lot of brands miss, right? They'll shoot content like this and they'll put it out there and it's like, well, no one cares because like you haven't teed it up properly. That's one. Number two, we talk about this all the time, and we're talking about this with like Amex, right? Like one of Amex's like best series that they have is like with this guy Ira the archivist who works at Amex, and he just talks about Amex's like 150-year-old history, and will like say, hey, here's like the first credit card. You know, here's how we ran credit cards back in the 50s, and like this is what this machine is. And so I think the more that, especially these large, you know, companies and large brands can just tap into individuals that people are maybe showing some interest towards, or like having this really niche specialty at the company, you can make great content out of that. And yeah, that's what I thought Sotheby's did in a really interesting way here. And I'm sure like build out on this series.
It is really good, and it should be. I think as brands, you're always thinking about like who's that external person you can go sign, and who's the big budget like movie star, the Zendaya, or whoever. And it's like you actually probably have some mad scientist who's been there since day one. There's a guy at Nike whose actual title he created was the historian at Nike. His name's Scott Reams, and I actually did a YouTube video with him just because I wanted people to see after the movie Air came out. But he's on LinkedIn, has actually developed this huge following because basically anything that happens in the Nike news, he'll go like, hey, here's actually how that started. Here's the story that actually went. Here's what Phil said about that thing. And he realized that, you know, you needed to archive the things that were happening at Nike and all this. So, and that's who Ira is, the archivist, which is pretty amazing.
It's character building, you know, like storytelling versus just product selling. And anyone that has a process, especially a process that has some intrigue, like with Sotheby's, where like the process of buying almost anything, if it involves negotiation or involves stressful sums of money or personality types, is like brands should showcase more of that. Why don't we have a dedicated Nike series with the historian on social media, Brother Jordan?
Oren, you don't want me to get started on that, but
are you telling me that there is? No.
He's not politically correct. I mean, you know, he's an old white guy. I mean, God forbid. Yeah, he's a heterosexual white male. I mean, we couldn't possibly have that. But
I think the things on that point is like brands and companies, they often think because they've been doing the same thing for so long, like Jordan, you've seen a campaign go from like idea to launch like 100 times over and have been like so involved in the weeds, and like everyone who you know on the corporate side is like so in the weeds there that you wouldn't think it's like interesting to know that. But I've never worked at like a large company and been on these campaigns, so I'm like, how do you even open the conversation with them? How, like, what does the back and forth look like? What does like the ideation look like? And there's so much of this like process that you can bring to the fore, whether it's like how something comes to life, whether that's a campaign or whether that's a physical product that seems just like day-to-day job to you, but is actually fascinating for people to watch. And I think a lot of the smaller brands understand that, which is like, you know, Midday Squares does a great job with this. They've like turned their whole thing into like a TV show where they're just doing, you know, sampling at Costco or like doing a distributor visit or like getting product into a new store. And it's like, okay, to anyone in the industry, that doesn't seem that interesting because like, yeah, if you're a food and beverage brand, like, and you have retail presence, yeah, you do in-store sampling. Like, why does anyone care about that? But like the average consumer like has no idea like how the sausage is made, or it's like, we just see what the final product looks like, but it's like, what does it look like for a team to like go build that and get that contract? And like, what do they have to show Costco in order to stay in Costco? And it's like, I watch their stuff and I'm learning stuff and I'm much more closer to that industry than most people anyway. And I'm like, oh shit, like that's what Costco needs to see. And that's why they need to promote this sampling so heavily so they get this contract. And there's a way to tell it to make anything that seems like mundane or boring actually very interesting.
And we had the Midday Squares team on. They did like a cut 30. They did like one of the guests, and it was really interesting. Where it's like, hey, how can you make think of any event as you would see it in a reality show, right? And this is something I talk to brands like all the time about now, where it's like, all right, what struggle do you have? Okay, now think about it. If you were a reality show scriptwriter and you didn't have anything else to talk about, how would you make this as big as possible? And you know, because it really is like things that you deal with so commonly as an entrepreneur, being like, you know, oh, the inventory got delayed at when we're doing sample day. Well, that's one way to look at a video hook. The other way is like, everything could go wrong for our business if we don't get this one shipment right. And guess which one people are going to watch, right? And it's just taking that lens and developing that voice. And they've done an excellent job making it natural to them and like bringing up that drama factor. Whereas people always think they have to do it like in a corny way. Like I feel they do a good job because it's a sense of urgency, right? Like that's the through line that makes it feel like reality TV there. And people need to look at their world like in that same way.
Yeah, it is a good point. I was just thinking about this, like, from my like nerdy golf world. Bryson DeChambeau is this, you know, guy who's on the Live Tour who started this series of trying to get a hole in one every day, and he's hitting over his house. Sorry, I'm going to bring this up for you. I'm also such a freaking nerd that I went and looked up his engagement rate last night because it's so incredible upon review. So he has 2 million followers. And every video he's done, look, he's getting 2, 4, 1. Like he doesn't have
an absolute legend. But
he is.
Yeah.
But he doesn't have a single video with less than 1 million views. Hold on, I have to go back. This is summer. He doesn't have a single video, and I don't know if they're deleting it, but here's one video with less than 1 million views when he started doing into this. And you have to go back like months to find that. And so he's doing this hole-in-one challenge where basically every day he's trying to hit a ball over his house and make a hole-in-one. And it occurred to me that we're invested in the outcome, right? You're like, here he is, you know, trying to do that. And I think that Midday Square is a great example. And any of the entrepreneurial, you know, stories that you're talking about are great examples of that. What else?
I do. One of the ones I said in the chat, we didn't quite hit to this yet, though, was Bose bought 2 luxury audio companies this week.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like minor luxury. I mean like $12,000 turntable, $75,000 speaker level luxury, which I thought was a really, really interesting. They bought Macintosh and Sonos Faber. If you're not like deep in like audiophile, if you don't own a pair of Grados, you may not be familiar. But this is like real luxury stuff, which I thought was a very interesting play. As we've talked a lot about Bose on here, and thought some of the things they're doing are really interesting. Obviously, run the vibe as the tagline. Or maybe that was Camry who was running the vibe. Sorry, whatever. There was some tagline intrigue, but I think this is interesting. If you're positioning yourself against Apple, you're kind of gaining some traction in this market. You're doing well with athletics. So then be like, hey, let's buy some infrastructure from like the deep audio files for home audio. I'm curious where that takes the brand.
Good point. I'm not actually deep enough in this like audio stuff to know.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what an equivalent metaphor would be that would be understandable. by all, but there
Well,
isn't really a good one that pops out.
Auto, I mean, Volkswagen acquiring Bentley or whoever it is, they own, high-end luxury, they're acquiring
this is
Audi.
more interesting. This is like, because like obviously Bose makes products that are like a couple $100, right? To then buy a $75,000 speaker system is like, there's really no good recommendation of like just how like wide that casts their net in the market, which I think is a very interesting play, because if I was going to say, hey, we're positioning this brand, we need to continue to compete against Apple. We're taking some market share from Beats, and because Apple's cannibalizing it themselves. And like how do we build a better overall brand perception? It's like, okay, now we're working with a lot of athletes. Like, okay, let's really take a look at like real deal big boy home audio, not like Sonos home audio, Yep.
Shots fired.
Sonos is fine. All this stuff is fine, but I'm just saying like there's a difference. I think we've all become so succumbed to the easiness of that product category. Like, I've got a Teenage Engineering Bluetooth speaker, like on this, or like over here, you have a Sonos system, or you have a Bose system, or you have a little thing that you carry. But then it's like, all right, everyone has that now. Like, how much market penetration are you getting in that world? Versus like, I don't know. If I was going to go rewire this house for audio and spend 40 grand on it, that's like the next tier up. And that's an interesting thing to be, but you have to be a real nerd to be like, I'm going to get like a Function One audio set, like is a whole different beast. And so it'd be interesting if Bose is attempting to bridge that gap. I find that intriguing.
Yeah, that's true. All right, I came across this in random social stuff that we saw this week. This brand Murta had this like crazy. They did a hyper. Oh shoot! Sorry, I gotta show it. They did this crazy. They did like hyper color jacket earlier this week, where they like throw the. It's just a good example of. Social, water for the hook, and then the reveal is super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
What else did you guys see this week that was, here's the one.
Yeah, that's what, I mean, look, Outlander posted about this. Obviously, I did a viral video on this same kind of type of fabric when it came out. People love viral transformation and whatnot. It's we're only going to see more of it. Obviously, Mischief released the one where it's like when you go in the sun, it looks like the clouds. There's gonna be, we're gonna have a lot more of this in our lives just because of the social media impact, right? What do we got on this? 600,000 likes,
Hypercolor was actually about 20 years too early. They would have thrived in the TikTok era.
I think they did fine. They did fine at the time, but now it's like, hey, how do you make it like the most interesting one possible? But we've got some ideas on like that stuff. Obviously, is going to keep getting some views, but like we're now in the peak era. Like I feel like I got like multi-million view videos back to back on that. There's like a bunch of products that are coming out for it now, and like we'll have hit peak. But so now it's going to be what are the other interesting materials? But we've got some tricks up our sleeve for that for this next Asia trip.
Oren, you did a YouTube video on like marketing the middle class. Like I didn't see what your thesis.
Oh yeah, so basically, it's like, why are these?
It's on Jaguar, but yeah, tell us your.
Yeah, but it's really about why all these campaigns are bad. Why it's feast or famine right now, which is worth 2 minutes of conversation. Which is like. Mm-hmm. Right now, anyone who would traditionally be like a director or a VP of marketing, who's in that 30 to 40-year-old range, has basically most of those good people. Let's not say most. Let's say half of those good people have realized I'm better off as an entrepreneur. I make much more money as a creator. I make much more money freelance with my own small agency than I ever will do inside a job like that, right? And then the other half of people, there's still plenty of people that work in that, now have their choice because there's way less of this existing middle class people of like the best jobs and places, which is why you see these companies like I brought up Rode, like Haley Bieber's Rode, Hexclad, like a bunch of just, cool new companies that are crushing it, that put out great marketing after great marketing because all these people then gravitationally want to go to where the good marketing work is. So like the few people that are left, which leaves the people at these other companies with this gap. And I had a lot of people who like work in the agency world stuff like comment being like, this resonates because you basically have the CMO level who can't understand what's happening in the TikTokification. And you have the Gen Z level who are entitled, feel like they know better than the CMOs because they understand social media, but don't have the management experience and leadership expertise. And typically there'll be this millennial generation mentoring them, right? Being like, helping bridge that story to the CMO. Okay, we can help justify this more trending action. And we're going to help these people like break that down. That's how this has always worked. But now that middle class is disappearing, or they're only at like the feast side of that. And then the famine side is this like, it's why we have all this marketing. It sucks. To my opinion, that's why we have North Face where it is. That's how we end up with the Jaguar campaigns. That's how we end up. There's no, and it's why all these companies are so bad at this that we bring up every week, while others are so good. Is like that's the scenario we're in. So that was the idea I pitched. I'd be curious on your thoughts on that.
I've just brought this up. I think I have something that fully supports this. I looked at a job title yesterday for a basically entry. So they wanted 2 years of experience. And it's like, I don't want to give away like who it is, but they want someone to report to the VP. They want to have you develop the social strategy, work with brand and marketing. They want you to create, curate, and manage high quality, engaging content, including copy text, images, videos, and graphics for all social media platforms, including Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and others. They want you to copyright. They want you to manage the community, have coverage of the events, analytics and reporting, and campaign management.
And they have a budget of $50K.
$50,000. I guarantee you it's a $50,000 job.
Even if it was 150,000, that's still not enough.
Yeah.
It's like now knowing what I know, like if you are capable of doing all of that, you need to leave and go create it for yourself. Exactly. Because you will make. They are. I mean, some of them are.
Or they work somewhere where they do a fraction of that role, right? But like, so look at that. All three of us might be able to do that role, and I say like might. You know what I'm saying? And then what would that cost? What would it would be more than the CEO makes. Like that was the other point I made. I was like, you want any of us to go back to work? What's that going to be like? We're making high 6, low 7 figures. Most of these people. How are you ever going to like? It gets awkward in the workplace when you get hired for that, right?
I think one of the biggest problems here with like a job description like that is like the people writing the job description have like never done that role, and they just like now, especially with how rapidly like the landscape of like content that you have to create and how responsive and kind of like always on you have to be, like posting a photo or creating a content calendar of photos on Instagram in 2014 is a very different world than like creating engaging content that performs super well on TikTok and Instagram. And it's just like, it is immense that they ask like one person to do it. But if that one person does it, it's like, hey, there's a lot of like campaign reporting and things that they need to be isolated from where they're like just doing this kind of all day, every day. And I've seen this,
look, and the notes here says saying, hey, people will take it. Yeah, people are going to take it and fail. That's what happens.
Yeah, or you'll do one of those well.
So there's a reason why your marketing is bad.
A really
made fun of on the Grandfathers.
Really important point at the bottom here. Someone will take it and burn out in 6 months. So I had so I know someone who works in a kind of social role at one company, and she commented something about this on LinkedIn, and it was a kind of like call for like, hey, if you're a social media head or manager and this resonates with you, like, you know, drop a comment. And it was like had like 500,000, 1 million impressions, and there was like 700 comments in there, and people were like, yes, as this person, you don't understand how much there is to do and how little everyone else in your organization understands like what goes into it, right? They see the output of this video, but it's like, you actually have no idea what it's like to go film that and shoot that and edit it and post it and then react. And like, you also have to be involved on these platforms. So the algorithm like knows like, hey, this is like an engaged account. It's truly, and that this is called like a social media manager role, I think does the role a tremendous disservice. Like done well, it can really make brands and like blow them out of the water.
And there's also again, to the point, there is no one that does that role at that level that is not either extremely highly paid and compensated than equity at a really cool brand where they came up learning that, or is just going and making significantly more money doing almost anything else, any other approach to this.
Well, once they figure it out, you know, I would say I'm actually, you know, there are young people who are running like, you know, college football and basketball accounts who are ballers and, you know, figuring it out. But and there's something to be said for making money and learning how organizations work and how you sell in and all that stuff. But my God, once you're able to fully do that, particularly in this day and age, go do it for yourself and you will make exponentially more money. It's
insane. I've got to hop off here because I've got this meeting in a minute. But the one other thing to know about that is actually sports is a great way to come up. We all know these kids, right? They have to do a bunch of management working at these teams. We actually do that. You post it and whatever. And then the things that get added on when you go brand side, you enter into campaign management. And then you enter into like the politics of approval and communication, means that even if you murder at that, you're just added on with this layer of like complete bullshit that is just going to eat up like a ridiculous amount of your time. But anyway, it's probably a topic.
And that is why.
Are we doing this next week? Black Friday, live for Black Friday deal shopping.
Oh, absolutely.
We should do Black Friday. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Do a round up history of Black Friday campaigns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Grandfathers are commited.
We'll see you guys then.
You'll be there. Yeah. All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will be more formal soon.
This will be live on YouTube. Worth calling out. We are going to be on. We don't have a handle. We don't have the subs yet, but we will be posting this on our social media to then put a final recap version on YouTube. Will be where you can find it.
Yes. All right. Thanks everybody. Thanks for tuning in from all over the world. Appreciate y'all.